Certainly. Here's the translation. Children are heartless. I am even more heartless. Parents raise their children to grow up. Children should take care of their parents until they are old. This is a complete process of inheritance. However, many children now have severed this inheritance. They think that parents raising them is a matter of course. Whether or not they support their parents is their own freedom. When parents encounter such unfilial children, most will use their inheritance as leverage. If you don't support me, then don't even think about getting my property. But now many children often retort, you can withhold it from me now, but after you pass away, the property will still be mine. Because many children really think this way, they are no longer afraid of their parents' warnings. They live their own lives recklessly. But when parents are old, is there really no other way? 72-year-old Grandpa Zhou was almost angered to death by his pair of children. Grandpa Zhou owns 2 properties worth millions. In his later years, he wanted his children to take turns supporting him, but he was refused. Grandpa Zhou proposed using the properties as a condition, but the children were still unmoved. They believed that after Grandpa Zhou passes away, the properties would naturally become theirs. Therefore, they adopted an attitude of wanting the house, but not wanting to care for the elderly. Later, Grandpa Zhou, unable to endure it anymore, made a decision even more ruthless than his children's, which made his children deeply regret it. Grandpa Zhou's self-narration. I used to think that as a city person, I would live a comfortable and happy life. Indeed, in the first half of my life, I lived in happiness. But in my old age, I fell into a situation of loneliness and helplessness, full of misery. 5 years ago, I lost my partner, who had been with me for half a lifetime. He passed away suddenly due to illness. My partner passed away so suddenly. I was not prepared at all. In the morning, he went shopping with me at the supermarket, and before taking a nap at noon, we had planned to play mahjong at the neighbor's house in the afternoon. But at 3 p.m., when I woke up and went to his room to wake him, I found that he had already passed away. The elderly often say that passing away in sleep is the best way, without the suffering of prolonged illness, and without burdening the family. This is a good thing for both the deceased and the family. At first, I also thought that my partner leaving in this way was a good outcome, without pain and suffering. But after my partner quietly passed away, I fell into endless pain. For half a lifetime, I had been accustomed to my partner's care. He took care of me meticulously, handled childbirth and raising the children, took care of household chores, and cared for my parents. He also managed the family finances. As for me, apart from working, I relied on his help in other aspects. Now that my partner is gone, I have become a lonely person. There is no one to take care of me anymore. I have to handle everything by myself and endure both joy and pain alone. My 2 children are both very accomplished. I should have been able to rely on them, but they are indifferent to me. My son, the eldest, is already 50 years old. He and his wife work in a private company with quite a good income. The second child is my daughter, 3 years younger than my son. She currently works in a unit. Although it's a leisure position, her pension after retirement is considerable. Both siblings are successful people, establishing their families early. Even though they each only have 1 child, I still feel very gratified, because grandsons are the hope of the family, and neither family will end the lineage. However, even though my children are successful, with careers and sons, they have become increasingly indifferent to us. When they first got married and had children, they needed us to help take care of the grandsons, or help with living expenses. At that time, they were very enthusiastic towards us, very filial, often coming home to visit. They even sent their children to live with us during winter and summer vacations. But as the grandsons entered middle school, They became busy with studies, and they came less and less. My children's lives became better and better, and they began to pursue a free and unrestrained lifestyle, gradually distancing themselves from us. They reduced their visits home, only returning when something happened or when they needed us. My partner and I used to complain about our children's indifference. After they moved into their new homes, it seemed like they had forgotten about this old home. Enjoying the pleasures of young people's social activities, they grew tired of the warmth of this big family. However, over time, we gradually accepted this reality, because our old friends around us were all experiencing the same thing. We didn't deliberately disturb them on ordinary days. If something happened, we would find a way to solve it ourselves. But my partner was someone who couldn't sit still. He often found various excuses to visit our children and grandchildren. Every month after receiving his pension, he would buy some good food or specialties to take to the children's homes. Every time he took things to see the children, our feelings were different. At first, the children were very enthusiastic, but later they became impatient, as if we were redundant. The things we sent, they didn't necessarily like to receive. Like my daughter-in-law, she would always say ungratefully, "Mom, we can buy these things ourselves. They are available everywhere. There's no need for you to keep sending them here. You should save your pension for yourself." Although my daughter-in-law's words were hurtful, we could understand. After all, the relationship between mother-in-law and daughter-in-law has always been difficult. My daughter's attitude was similar to that of my daughter-in-law, as if after getting married, she really became a part of her husband's family. After sending things a few times, they started avoiding us, not wanting us to come. Later, we realized that when people get old, their children will inevitably dislike them. We gradually reduced our interactions with our children, but we did not stop supporting them. In the past, we helped them raise their children, buy houses, and purchase cars. Now that they are financially stable, we continue to find ways to support our grandchildren. You could say we have always been very generous to our children, perhaps even a bit too indulgent. For example, 10 years ago, to encourage our 2 grandsons, we took out one of the 2 properties under our name and promised that whoever got married first would have the house transferred to them. Although these 2 properties were bought in the city center 20 years ago and have become a bit old, they are still very valuable. At the time, the children cared a lot about this matter, but because the grandsons were still in school, they didn't particularly rush us. However, after my partner passed away, both grandsons had already graduated from university. So the children started to get anxious, urging their kids to find marriage partners. Living alone is very hard, and I had hoped to use the children's anxiety about the house to persuade them to take me in for my old age. Last year, during the spring festival, our whole family finally gathered together. I then proposed the idea of old age care to my children. My suggestion was to take turns living with them. I wouldn't need them to serve me, and could even help them out. However, my children's reactions were all cold. My son said, "Dad, you're living so well alone. Why come and squeeze in with us?" My daughter didn't say anything, but she skipped over the topic and directly brought up my grandson's partner, then asked me, "Dad, Aming is already 25 years old and has a girlfriend. He plans to get married in the next 2 years. Can the house be transferred to him?" My daughter's words immediately sparked a dispute with my daughter-in-law. "Dad, our family also has a partner and also needs a house." Just like that, they successfully turned the topic of my old age care into the topic of them wanting a house. But I weakly responded, "If both grandsons plan to get married, then after dividing the 2 houses, where will I live? Live with you or with you?" I pointed to my children. My daughter-in-law was the first to say, "Dad, We've already discussed this. You're so old now. For your betterment in your later years, you should go to a nursing home in the city. Many top leaders are there too. The caregivers are amazing, and they even have the mahjong you love most. You'll definitely enjoy living there. My daughter and son-in-law also chimed in. Yes, 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 Dad. We'll visit you often, and you can still come home for the holidays. My children painted the nursing home as a wonderful place, but I said, I just want to live with you. I'm old, and I should enjoy the blessings of my children. Upon hearing this, my children fell silent, and that New Year's dinner quietly ended without a word. After the New Year, I called each of them again, saying that whoever took care of me in my old age would be the first to get the house. What I didn't expect was that my children said I was being too overbearing and not considering their feelings, saying I had better options for old age care, but insisted on adding pressure to their lives. They spoke to me like this. I also felt unreasonable and retorted, if none of you will take care of me, then I won't leave you any of the property. After all, raising children is supposed to be for old age support. I am already in my 70s and could fall ill at any time. All I want is the companionship of my children. Is that wrong? My son also became angry, saying I was leveraging my old age and claimed I didn't understand the law. If you don't give us the property now, after you're gone, it will still be ours. My daughter conveyed a similar sentiment. From their attitudes, I saw their chilling faces, wanting only the property but not caring about me, the old man. This year, I was hospitalized due to lung disease. Many people suggested I move in with my children, so that if my illness flares up, someone would notice and take care of me. But my children insisted I should either hire a caregiver or go to a nursing home. They were unwilling to let me live with them, and even more unwilling to come take care of me. They all used work and lack of time and energy as excuses, but I felt these were just excuses for their indifference. After being treated this way by my children, I felt utterly cold inside, so I made a decision even more decisive than my children's. I would no longer leave the property to them. Not long ago, I went to the notary to make a property affidavit. While I am alive, one house will be rented out, and one will be for my own use. After I pass away, both houses will be donated to charity. No matter how the property prices fluctuate in the future, I will not leave any property to my children. They thought I had no way to deal with them, but when I told them this decision, they all panicked and became anxious. Even so, I did not change my mind. My pension is sufficient to cover the expenses of hiring a caregiver. As for whether my children will support me in my old age, I no longer hold any hope. You may think I am a cold-hearted person, but I believe this is my freedom. Just as children can choose whether or not to support their elderly parents, I also have the right to make my own choice. This is the story of 72-year-old Grandpa Zhou. Do you think Grandpa Zhou's actions are reasonable? Do you have any better suggestions? Thank you all for watching. See you next time.